You've probably noticed it by now. People are drawn to you, yet something about their energy feels conflicted. They admire you, but they also resist you. They praise you, but deep down, you can feel that subtle sting, that unspoken tension that creeps in when your light starts shining too brightly. And no matter how kind, grounded, or humble you try to be, you somehow end up becoming a mirror that reflects people's deepest insecurities. But why does this happen to you, dear INFJ? Why do you attract people who secretly envy your light, people who claim to love your energy, but behind the curtain, can't stand the way it makes them feel small? Let's unravel this truth together, piece by piece. Because what you carry inside of you isn't ordinary, and the world reacts to that light in ways you were never fully prepared for. 1. Your light exposes what others try to hide. Let's start with something most people will never admit. The INFJ energy doesn't just shine, it reveals. When you walk into a room, you don't just bring warmth. You bring awareness. You carry a vibration that cuts through masks, that senses intentions, that feels emotions others haven't even processed yet. And that's what secretly unnerves people, not because you're doing anything wrong, but because your light quietly uncovers what others desperately try to conceal. People who are insecure, manipulative, or ego-driven can't hide behind their charm with you. You see past it. They feel naked, in your presence, emotionally transparent. And while part of them might crave your understanding, another part of them resents you for it. Because to stand near someone who sees you so deeply, who sees your chaos, your wounds, your contradictions, it's both healing and humiliating. Your light becomes a mirror, and not everyone can handle their reflection. For many, that's when admiration quietly turns into envy. They don't hate you for being bright, they hate how your brightness reveals their own shadows. 2. You radiate effortless depth in a superficial world. You live in a world that celebrates performance, not presence. People are trained to seek attention, validation, and instant gratification. But you move differently. Your energy doesn't scream for attention, it commands it silently. You don't chase popularity, you attract curiosity. You don't speak to impress, you speak to connect. And that subtle difference makes people notice you without understanding why. You radiate a quiet confidence, not arrogance, but the kind that comes from knowing who you are beneath the noise. That's rare. That's powerful. That's magnetic. But it also makes you a walking contradiction to people who measure worth by external metrics. When others see that your peace doesn't depend on their approval, that your glow comes from within, it stirs something uncomfortable inside them. They want what you have, but they don't understand what it costs. Because your light isn't just brightness, it's born from pain, reflection, and inner battles most people run away from. You earned it. And that's what they envy the most, not the glow itself, but the strength that forged it. 3. You love deeply, and that makes people question themselves. Your love isn't shallow. When you care, you do it with a depth that feels almost supernatural, as if your soul can reach inside someone's storm and hold their broken pieces with compassion that defies logic. You don't just offer affection, you offer understanding. You don't just listen, you feel people's emotions as if they were your own. And to someone who's never experienced that level of emotional honesty, it's both intoxicating and terrifying. Because your love exposes what theirs lacks. You remind people of the kind of connection they crave but can't create. You show them what it means to be seen, and once they taste that, it's hard to go back to superficial relationships. But envy sneaks in when they realize they can't reciprocate your depth. They start feeling inadequate, unworthy even. They might start subtly trying to dim your emotional intensity, mocking your sensitivity, or labeling your empathy as too much. Because instead of rising to meet your light, they'd rather bring you down to the comfort of their shadows. It's not cruelty, it's fear. Fear of being fully seen, fully known, and fully loved. 4. You carry emotional wisdom beyond your years. INFJs often seem like old souls walking around in young bodies. You read people like novels, their micro-expressions, tone shifts, contradictions, even the emotions they hide from themselves. And that intuitive accuracy unnerves people more than you realize. You make accurate observations about what's really going on beneath the surface, and that can feel threatening. Because when someone sees through the stories you tell yourself, when they see the fear, pride, or shame you try to bury, it can feel like exposure. Your emotional wisdom forces people to confront themselves. You don't do it intentionally, you just exist in truth. But for those not ready to face their truth, being near you feels uncomfortable. They envy how easily you seem to understand life, how your intuition cuts through confusion, how your empathy doesn't crumble under complexity. They envy how deeply you feel yet remain strong. Because while they're still fighting to find meaning, you've already made peace with paradox. 5. You don't need validation, and that threatens the insecure. Here's one of the most paradoxical things about you, INFJ. You crave connection, but you don't crave validation. You want to be understood, not approved. You seek authenticity, not applause. And that kind of inner independence is rare in a world where people constantly measure their worth by likes, followers, and compliments. You glow from within, not because someone gave you permission to, but because you refused to stop shining even when the world ignored you. That level of self-containment drives insecure people crazy. They can't control you with attention, guilt, or manipulation. They can't make you beg for inclusion or chase approval. You belong to yourself. And that makes you untouchable in ways that frighten those who rely on external validation for self-worth. So they'll envy your peace, your stillness, your calm, but they'll never admit it. They'll call you distant, mysterious, or hard to read. But what they're really saying is, I can't figure out how you're so whole without needing me. 6. You turn pain into power, and people don't know how you do it. Most people break under pressure. You transform. Most people get bitter after betrayal. You get wiser. Most people stay down after heartbreak. You rise with more grace and clarity than before. You have this uncanny ability to take life's cruelty and turn it into compassion. To take loneliness and turn it into creativity. To take darkness and use it to light someone else's way. That resilience makes you magnetic, but it also triggers envy in those who crumble under the same storms you've survived. They see your calm after chaos and wonder how you manage to heal without losing your softness. But what they don't realize is how much it costs you to remain kind in a world that's often cruel. How much you've cried, questioned, and endured in silence. They see the light, not the furnace that created it. So they project envy instead of empathy, jealousy instead of understanding, because it's easier to resent your strength than to cultivate their own. 7. You have a silent confidence that can't be faked. INFJs rarely boast. You don't need to. Your confidence is internal, subtle, calm, self-assured. It doesn't scream, it whispers. It's the confidence of someone who knows themselves too well to be swayed by trends or opinions. And here's the truth. People envy quiet power more than loud success. Because quiet power can be manipulated. You're not playing the social games they're used to. You're not trying to prove anything, and that, paradoxically, proves everything. When others feel insecure, they try to dominate conversations, show off achievements, or mask their fear with arrogance. You, on the other hand, simply are. You move with intention, speak with purpose, and carry yourself like someone who knows their soul has already been tested and tempered. And people can't help but notice. They envy how you stay calm when they panic, how you observe instead of compete, how your energy feels grounded even in chaos. Because your stillness feels like power, and they're right. It is. 8. Your sensitivity is your superpower, even when it makes others uncomfortable. You feel everything, deeply, fully, relentlessly. The mood of a room, the hidden tension in a friend's voice, the sadness behind someone's smile, nothing escapes your radar. To some, that's unsettling. Because sensitivity in a hardened world feels like rebellion. People envy how tuned in you are, how you can articulate emotions they can't even name, how your empathy makes others feel safe and understood. But at the same time, your sensitivity reminds them of their own emotional numbness. They envy your emotional intelligence but resent how it exposes their disconnection. You remind them of what they've lost, their innocence, their softness, their ability to care without agenda. And that can be confronting. Because to envy an INFJ's heart is to secretly long for a version of themselves that once existed, the part that could still feel. 9. You refuse to engage in drama, and that frustrates the dramatic. Envious people often try to provoke reaction, it's how they regain control. But you don't give them that satisfaction. You see through manipulation instantly. You don't match hostility with hostility. You stay calm, collected, detached. That's what infuriates them the most, your ability to disengage. You don't fight for attention. You don't chase arguments. You withdraw gracefully. You protect your energy. And because of that, your silence feels louder than their noise. You have this uncanny ability to make people realize that you don't need to win, because you've already mastered emotional self-regulation. They envy your ability to walk away without bitterness. They envy how you can forgive without forgetting, how you can love without losing yourself, how you can end a connection without hate. Because most people don't know how to exist without emotional chaos, and your peace reminds them of how exhausting their inner turmoil really is. 10. You make people confront their own light and darkness. At the deepest level, people envy you because you awaken something inside them, something both beautiful and terrifying. Your light calls to their light, the part of them that remembers who they could be. But it also exposes their shadows, the insecurities, fears, and masks they've built over time. To stand near you is to feel inspired and intimidated at the same time. You awaken potential and resistance simultaneously. You show them what alignment looks like, living with authenticity, intuition, and compassion. But that level of authenticity forces people to make a choice: rise to meet you, or retreat and resent you. And that's why so many people secretly envy your light. Because on some soul level, they know that what you have isn't luck, it's integrity. It's authenticity. It's alignment. And alignment is something most people crave but are too afraid to pursue, because it requires the death of the false self. 11. You don't compete, you create. One of the reasons you attract envy without even trying is because your energy doesn't revolve around competition. You don't compare, you create. You build your own path, in your own time, in your own way. You move like someone who knows that there's enough space in the universe for everyone to shine, and that mindset dismantles the scarcity-based egos around you. You inspire without intending to, and that makes people question their own motives. While others are busy trying to beat each other, you're building something entirely different: meaning, depth, purpose, peace. You're proof that success without noise is still success. That you can be humble and powerful at the same time. And because of that, you become a living contradiction. Proof that you can be kind without being weak, strong without being loud, intuitive without being unstable. People envy that balance because they don't know how to achieve it. 12. You don't just exist, you transform everything you touch. INFJs have a subtle but undeniable impact on every environment they enter. You don't just participate, you transform. You bring clarity to confusion, compassion to coldness, and depth to empty conversations. People feel lighter after talking to you, yet they also feel challenged. Because your presence doesn't just comfort, it awakens. It shakes things loose that people have buried for years. You inspire growth, and growth is uncomfortable. So while they may crave your energy, they also fear it. They want your insight, but not the change that comes with it. They envy how effortlessly you make transformation look, how you evolve again and again while they feel stuck in cycles. They envy your ability to turn endings into beginnings. To let go without resentment. To start over with grace. Because to most people, change feels like loss, but to you, change is simply evolution. 13. You possess a soul that refuses to settle. You can't fake connection. You can't tolerate shallowness. You can't pretend you're fine when your intuition screams otherwise. You've outgrown the masks, the small talk, the pretending. You're driven by truth, even when it isolates you. And that kind of soul, one that refuses to compromise its integrity, becomes a threat to those who live half-truths. They envy your conviction. They envy your courage to walk alone rather than belong to the wrong crowd. They envy your unshakable sense of, "This isn't for me." Because deep down, they wish they had that kind of backbone, that quiet certainty that says, "I will not trade my peace for acceptance." And that's the ultimate light you carry, the kind that doesn't flicker even when you stand in the dark alone. 14. You are what they pretend to be. Let's be brutally honest. Many people spend their lives performing goodness, pretending to be kind, spiritual, intuitive, or deep, because those traits look admirable. But you are those things naturally. You embody what others perform. You live the truth they only post about. You walk the path they only talk about. And that's why envy finds you so easily, because authenticity exposes imitation. Your energy feels real, unforced, timeless. You don't talk about light, you radiate it. You don't try to look soulful, your soul is already visible. That's why people are drawn to you, and also why they turn against you. Because your existence makes them realize the difference between performing depth and actually being deep. So, dear INFJ, if you've ever wondered why people who once adored you suddenly grew cold, why friends subtly competed with you, why coworkers misread your intentions, or why strangers seem magnetically drawn to you yet quietly resentful, it's not your fault. It's your light. Your light is ancient. It's sacred. It's not meant to make everyone comfortable, it's meant to awaken. You weren't designed to blend in. You were designed to illuminate what's hidden, to bring compassion where there's cruelty, and to remind people of who they really are beneath their fear. So never shrink your glow just to make others feel safe in their shadows. Don't apologize for your insight, your empathy, or your quiet strength. Those are your divine tools, the language of your soul. Yes, some will envy your light, but others will rise because of it. Some will misunderstand your calm, but others will find healing in your presence. Some will project, but others will awaken. Keep shining anyway. Because the world doesn't need you to dim, it needs you to be. You are not the cause of their envy, you are the mirror of their potential. And the light that stirs envy is the same light that transforms the world.